B2B digital marketing benchmarks for lead generation. Introduction. Benchmarks for digital marketing and B2B lead gen are the channel and funnel stage averages teams use to judge whether their lead generation is healthy. Things like a 2.9% median website conversion rate, a 43% privacy-inflated email open rate, a 13% MQL to SQL conversion rate, and a 2.5% cold call to meeting rate. The catch is that almost none of these numbers mean anything until you put them in context. If you work in B2B sales or marketing, you've heard some version of this in a forecast meeting. Is a 3% website conversion rate good? Is $250 CPL bad? What should our MQL to SQL be? Everybody wants benchmarks. The problem is, most digital marketing benchmarks float around the internet with zero context for B2B lead gen or for what they actually mean to your SDR team's quota. So let's fix that. In this guide, we'll break down the current 2025-2026 benchmarks for the channels that matter most in B2B lead gen: website conversion, email, paid ads, and cold calling, and then translate every one of them into what your sales development team should actually expect and optimize for. We'll cover the stats, the common traps, and a practical way to use benchmarks as guardrails instead of guilt trips. Why B2B benchmarks are different and why averages lie. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A single average conversion rate is one of the most misleading numbers in marketing. The median B2B conversion rate across all industries is 2.9% based on Ruler Analytics analysis of 100+ million data points published in August 2025. Sounds tidy, but that median hides enormous variation. Industry vertical significantly impacts expected conversion rates. Legal services leads all B2B sectors at 7.4%, while B2B e-commerce converts at just 1.8%, a 311% difference between highest and lowest performers. In the middle, professional services, 4 to 6%, healthcare, 3 to 4%, manufacturing, 3 to 5%, and finance, 3 to 4%, cluster in the middle range, while software and SaaS companies show wide variation, 1.1% to 7%, depending on product complexity and sales model. Why the spread? Benchmarks vary by product complexity, sales cycle length, deal size, and number of decision makers. The longer the cycle and the higher the price, the lower the initial website conversion tends to be. This is the whole reason a good benchmark for a SaaS company selling a $250K enterprise platform looks nothing like one for a legal services firm selling a $5,000 retainer. The practical takeaway: stop benchmarking against the generic 2.9%. For SaaS and tech, treat 1% as baseline. Below 1% is underperforming, and 2 to 3% plus is a strong target with CRO and intent-driven content. For manufacturing industrial, the average is 2.2%. A realistic stretch goal is 3 to 5%. Find your vertical, then measure your own improvement against your own history. The B2B funnel, stage by stage. Website conversion is just the front door. The real benchmarking action happens as leads move through the funnel, and this is where most teams stop looking. Here's a clean picture of a typical B2B funnel. Average B2B funnels convert 2.3% of website visitors to leads, 31% of leads to marketing qualified leads, MQL, 13% of MQLs to sales qualified leads, SQL, 30 to 59% of SQLs to opportunities, and 22 to 30% of opportunities to customers. Multiplied together, these stage-by-stage rates reveal why typical B2B customer acquisition requires reaching hundreds of prospects to generate each sale. The single most important conversion gate in that chain is MQL to SQL, because that's where marketing's leads either become real sales pipeline or quietly die. Average MQL to SQL conversion hovers around 13%, but teams with strong behavioral scoring and tight ICP coverage can hit 30 to 40%, dramatically increasing meetings per marketing dollar. For a quick sanity check, a healthy benchmark is around 15% from MQL to SQL and 6 to 9% closed won. If your MQL to SQL number is languishing in the single digits, don't assume your SDRs are lazy. High-performing B2B teams convert 10 to 30% of MQLs into sales-accepted leads, SQLs. If below 10%, the root cause is almost always misaligned ICP definitions or low-intent lead generation. Why stage-by-stage tracking beats headline metrics? The biggest benchmarking mistake is stopping at a single headline number. Don't stop at "our LinkedIn CPL is high." Track visitor to lead, lead to MQL, MQL to SQL, SQL to opportunity, and opportunity to close for each major source. That's how you see if the problem is targeting, landing pages, lead scoring, or SDR follow-up. This is also how you have smarter conversations with leadership. The most productive benchmark conversation between sales and marketing happens before the quarter starts, not during a pipeline review where someone is defending a number. Educate your sales counterparts. For example, typically it takes 100 marketing leads to produce 10 opportunities and 2 deals based on our 10% lead to op and 20% win rate benchmarks. When everyone agrees on the math up front, nobody's surprised by the forecast. Email benchmarks. Stop worshiping opens. Email is still one of the highest ROI channels in B2B, but the benchmark you're probably tracking is broken. Let's start with the headline numbers. The average email open rate in 2025 was 43.46%. This was a slight increase on 2024's average open rate of 42.35%. And the average email click rate in 2025 was 2.09%. This was a slight increase on 2024's average email click rate of 2%. Here's the catch with that lovely 43% open rate. It's badly inflated. Apple's mail privacy protection has made open rates less reliable. MPP automatically preloads email content and images for Apple Mail users, even if they never actually open the email. Since Apple Mail accounts for 46% of email clients, this technical change has significantly skewed open rate data upward. That's why clicks matter more than opens now. Considering how Apple's privacy changes impact open rate and CTOR, click rate is currently the most accurate indicator of email newsletter engagement since it's not reliant on tracking opens. A solid B2B benchmark for click-to-open rate is 6.81% in 2025, an increase on 2024's average click-to-open rate of 5.63%. What top email programs actually hit? Averages are the floor, not the ceiling. B2B email marketing in 2025 demonstrates robust performance with significant variance by execution quality. The median B2B open rate sits at 36.7% to 42.35%, up from 34.2% in 2024, while click-through rates average 2.0 to 4.0%. However, top quartile programs achieve 50% plus opens and 10% plus CTR through rigorous segmentation, AI-powered personalization, and deliverability optimization. The lever that separates average from elite is segmentation. Detailed email segmentation leads to 30% more opens and 50% more clicks than unsegmented email campaigns. And the payoff is real. Email marketing continues to deliver an impressive $36 return for every $1 invested, while automated nurturing emails generate 320% more revenue than manual campaigns. Cold email is a different animal. Don't confuse opted-in newsletter benchmarks with cold outbound. The numbers are much thinner. For cold outreach, CTR runs about 1.67% to 3.2%, and reply rates are getting harder. Cold outreach reply rates dropped from 6.8% 2023 to 5.8% 2025, signaling rising inbox fatigue. Top programs still break through, but it takes tight targeting and strong hooks. Deliverability is now table stakes. Starting in 2024, Gmail and Yahoo treat senders sending roughly 5,000 plus daily emails as bulk senders, requiring SPF, DKIM, DMARC, and one-click unsubscribe. Non-compliance leads directly to spam or blocking. If your authentication isn't dialed in, none of your other benchmarks matter because your emails never land. The bottom line for email: stop obsessing over open rates and start optimizing for replies, meetings booked, and pipeline created. That's where B2B email marketing actually pays off. Paid channel benchmarks: cheap leads versus quality leads. Paid ads are where benchmark confusion costs the most money because cost per lead is the metric everyone fixates on, and it's the one that lies the most. Start with the workhorse. Google Ads maintains market dominance with 98% of PPC marketers utilizing the platform, generating an average CTR of 3.17% and CPC of $2.69 across B2B campaigns as of Q3 2025. The platform's cost per lead averages $48.96, with conversion rates of 3.75%, positioning it as the baseline standard for bottom funnel lead generation. But B2B SaaS pays more. Enterprise software advertisers report average CPC between $3.50 to $7, with qualified lead costs ranging $150 to $250. Now here's the part most teams miss. Meta's advertising ecosystem, Facebook and Instagram, generates high lead volumes at $21.98 CPL, with impressive 8.78% conversion rates for lead generation campaigns. Looks like a steal, right? Except Meta ads deliver high lead volume but low lead quality, MQL to SQL 5 to 10%. Best for awareness, content promotion, and retargeting, not direct pipeline contribution. LinkedIn flips the equation: higher cost, higher quality. LinkedIn's 14 to 18% MQL to SQL conversion rates establish it as the quality leader, followed by Microsoft Bing at 10 to 15%, Google Ads at 7 to 12%, and Meta at 5 to 10%. When you account for that quality gap, the real economics become clear. LinkedIn leads cost more upfront, but lower total CAC, $3,750 per closed deal, than Google, $4,350, or Meta, $4,800. Focus on MQL to SQL and SQL to opportunity rates, not just CPL. A sane budget allocation. If you want a starting framework backed by cross-channel data, the optimal 2025 B2B PPC budget allocation strategy combines Google Ads, 35 to 45%, for high-intent search capture, LinkedIn ads, 25 to 35% for decision-maker targeting, Microsoft Bing, 15 to 20% for cost efficiency, and Meta platforms, 5 to 10% for awareness. Adjust from there based on which channel actually feeds your SDRs the SQLs that close. Organic and content, the long game that feeds SDRs. The most overlooked benchmark in outbound-heavy teams is what organic does to lead quality. The gap is dramatic. Organic search, SEO, leads convert to customers at about 14.6%, compared with only 1.7% for pure outbound leads, showing why content plus SEO should feed your SDRs. Content also lowers your overall cost structure. SEO and content are long game machines. Organic leads can close at 14.6% versus 1.7% for pure outbound, and content marketing generates 3 times more leads at 62% lower cost. That doesn't mean outbound is dead, far from it, but it does mean the smartest B2B engines use content to warm the market and outbound to compress the timeline. Worth flagging, a new category of benchmark is emerging around AI search. 70% of marketers believe AEO will significantly impact their strategy in 2026, yet only 20% have begun implementing it. With predictions that 80% of B2B sales interactions will happen through digital channels, keeping benchmarks relevant and actionable is key. Teams that start tracking AI citation share and share of voice in AI answers now will have a head start when those metrics go mainstream. Cold calling benchmarks, low rates, high leverage. Cold calling has been pronounced dead more times than anyone can count, and it keeps booking meetings. But you have to benchmark it honestly. The averages are low by design. B2B cold call to meeting conversion rate benchmarks. Average is 2.5%, 1 meeting per 40 dials. Top performers achieve 5 to 8%. The connect rate is usually the constraint. Gong Labs analyzed 300 million plus cold calls and found the average connect rate is 5.4%, while top quartile reps hit 13.3%. The lesson there is blunt. If your connect rate is below 5%, it's usually not your script, it's your data. Lead temperature changes everything, which is why blending sources matters. By lead temperature, cold list 1.5 to 2%, marketing qualified 4 to 6%, warm intro referral 15 to 25%. That's a 10x spread driven entirely by who you're calling. Set realistic activity expectations. A lot of SDR programs burn out because the math was never realistic. In many B2B tech benchmarks, SDRs average around 44 to 45 dials per day and carry meeting quotas near 21 per month, with roughly 68% of reps hitting quota. So if your model demands 100 quality dials plus deep research and still expects multiple meetings a day, you don't have a motivation problem, you have a system problem. Persistence and timing are the cheap wins. It takes about 8+ call attempts to reach a prospect, and calling in the 8 to 9 a.m. or 4 to 5 p.m. windows can lift connect rates by 40 to 70% over random times when everyone's in meetings. Yet most reps give up after 2. The pipeline left on the table by quitting early is staggering. And despite the doom and gloom, the channel still delivers when you respect it. 69% of B2B buyers are open to accepting cold calls from new providers, and a striking 82% have accepted meetings from strategic cold outreach. Cost per lead and the speed to lead multiplier. Let's talk money and tie it back to action. Average cost per lead across industries is about $198, while B2B SaaS often pays $310 per paid lead and $237 blended, critical when you're backing into CAC and pipeline targets. Channel cost structures vary wildly. The fully loaded cost ranges from $300 to $500 per lead for cold calling when you factor in rep salary, tools, and overhead. Compare that to cold email, where cost per lead runs $30 to $50. Cheaper isn't always better. Cold calling produces higher intent conversations, but you need to know your real numbers. Now for the single cheapest improvement available to almost every B2B team: speed to lead. Responding to a new lead within 5 minutes makes you about 10x more likely to make contact versus waiting even an hour. This is where SDR speed to lead turns digital spend into real conversations. On qualification, the effect is even bigger. Responding to high-intent leads within 5 minutes versus 1 hour increases the likelihood of qualification by 21 times. Think about what that means. You can spend more money on better lists, fancier creative, and bigger ad budgets, or you can route leads faster and multiply qualification 21x for basically free. This 5-minute response window has become a critical benchmark, explaining why organizations are implementing automated, intelligent routing systems to ensure sub-5-minute response times. How this applies to your sales team. So how do you turn this pile of benchmarks into a better performing team? A few practical moves. 1. Build a single source of truth. Most outbound lists come from digital intent signals, web visits, content engagement, ads, and SDR touches dramatically change how many of those signals become real conversations. Benchmark outbound on dials to connect, connect to meeting, and meetings to opportunity, and compare those to how inbound leads perform. Then adjust lead routing and SDR focus to whichever combo produces the best CAC. 2. Coach conversations, not just activity. Once your reps hit a reasonable dial floor, if you want more meetings without more dials, stop coaching activity and start coaching conversations. Weekly call reviews focused on openers, objection handling, and how reps ask for the next step move the needle more than another 20 dials a day. Training isn't a perk in 2025, it's a conversion strategy. 3. Fix data first, always. Connect rate below benchmark? Don't rewrite the script yet. B2B data becomes outdated fast, about 2.1% per month, which adds up to 22.5% annually. Refresh and verify your lists before scaling dials. 4. Set the ranges before the quarter. For each channel and stage, define what bad, average, good, great looks like for your ACV and ICP. Then run controlled improvements, one constraint at a time. Data quality, then cadence completion, then call coaching, then meeting quality. That sequence keeps you from changing 5 things at once and learning nothing. 5. Align sales and marketing on definitions. A shared ICP and shared MQL/SQL definitions are the foundation. Teams with strong alignment are 80% more likely to hit pipeline goals versus 50% for misaligned teams. Conclusion plus next steps. Benchmarks for digital marketing in B2B lead gen are guardrails, not commandments. The numbers we covered, 2.9% website conversion, 13% MQL to SQL, 43% inflated email opens with 2% clicks, 2.5% cold call to meeting, give you a map of what normal looks like. But the real goal is to measure your own funnel, compare to relevant peers in your vertical, then iterate until you reliably turn digital leads into SQLs and revenue. Here's your starting checklist. 1. Build a stage-by-stage dashboard for each major source, visitor to lead to MQL to SQL to opportunity to close. 2. Re-baseline your KPIs around clicks, replies, and meetings booked instead of opens and raw CPL. 3. Implement sub-5-minute lead routing, the single highest ROI change most teams can make. 4. Audit your contact data quarterly before you blame your reps for low connect rates. 5. Set your ranges before the quarter starts and fix one constraint at a time. Do that consistently, and you'll stop arguing about whether a 3% conversion rate is good and start systematically beating last quarter's numbers. If building or scaling that outbound engine in-house feels like more than your team can take on right now, partnering with an agency that already runs this playbook can get you to benchmark and past it a lot faster.